I've been in the moving industry for about 30 years. I've only done international moving all my life. And I'm going to give you a little walkthrough on what a 20-foot container looks like, what it can hold, how to load it, and then give you some tips on how to load it, how to secure your goods, and things like that. So we just received a 20-foot container, which we're going to be loading for export overseas. This is a 20-foot container. The outside of the container, you can see the length of it. It's basically 20 feet exterior. Now, the container itself sits on a chassis. The chassis is what allows the container to be moved from the port to our warehouse or to your house for loading. Now, the chassis sits about 4 feet off the ground, maybe a little bit more, and I'll show you the height so you can get an idea of how tall the container is. Okay, so I'm standing next to the container on a chassis, and you'll see the height. So the container starts here, the floor starts here. So when you're going to load something very heavy, you're going to need some help because they don't come with a ramp. It's an empty box on the inside, a big empty square. Okay, so, and the container, you'll notice, has identifying numbers throughout, right? So in the front of the container, you'll have the container number, the 4 numbers plus the 6 plus the check 1. This is how you control and inspect your container. Now, when you receive the container, okay, the container gets to your house, and let's say you're going to load it yourself, you need to go inside the container and make sure that there's no holes. I'm going to go inside now and show you how to inspect the container when you receive it. All right, so let's go. The container itself, this is a 20-foot container. The container will measure 19 feet 4 inches in depth. It'll measure 7 feet 9 inches in width, and it's 7 feet 10 inches in height. The container holds about 32 cubic meters worth of household goods, or 1,000 cubic feet. It's basically the same thing, right? So there's a certain amount that you can put in here. You really can't put any more. Now, inside the container, you will have the number. This is an identifying number for the container. It has 4 letters, followed by, I should have counted this before, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, and then this is the check number. So all this is your container identifier number. Also within the container, at the base, you have grommets. These are basically for you to tie things down, and they will run about every 2.5 feet along the interior of the container, and it's on the top and the bottom of the container. Inside the container, the 3 walls are made out of steel, the floor is wood. So you are able to affix things within the container. In here usually goes, when somebody gives you an estimate and they don't tell you the cubic feet or the volume, you can figure household goods will hold about 7,000 pounds in a 20-foot container, which is what this is. Now, the first thing you have to do when you receive a container is go inside and make sure there's no holes. Because remember, this thing will be on the ocean, and if water gets in, your items will get damaged. It's supposed to be up to the mover if we're loading it. If you're loading it yourself, you need to do this when it gets here from the port. Now let's go inside, and I'm going to show you what the easiest way is to check for holes. The first thing you do is you visually check the container and make sure there's no visible holes. Then you have someone, Maito, turn around, show him. He's going to close the doors, and he's going to show, we're going to look for light beads. If we don't see any light, the container is free from holes and should be okay to load. Close me up, baby. So he's closing the container doors, and you'll see it's a little noisy, and it'll get dark very quickly. And we're going to have to shut off the light real soon so you can see what I'm talking about. And here we go, cierra. And he's closing the container, and you will see we are in complete and utter darkness. Now we're not, but you'll see that there's no light coming in from outside. So your container is sealed, it's watertight, and it's ready to load. The container's been loaded. We're done, everything is in here, and what we've done is we've built a wall. And the wall basically will hold everything inside from shifting in transit. What we do is we just put a piece of 2x4, a little bit longer, so if you look inside the container, look inside here, you'll notice that the container has an indentation. So we just slide the wood in the indentation, put a piece of plywood here, nail everything in place, put a piece down here to hold this from moving forward, and your cargo will move secured.